Today we are talking about Peptides 101. Peptides are basically really small pieces of proteins, amino acids that do a specific biological function.
But they're like text messages, so they're just quick signal. They're telling our body what to do, what pathways to turn on. It's prompting your body to do the things that it already naturally does.
So,
hey, Jasper.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it does not establish a physician-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition. Always consult with a licensed healthcare provider in your area before making any changes to your personal healthcare regimen or acting on any medical information shared in this podcast.
all right. So today I'm Kris Hasnauer. This is the next episode of the Dose Adjustment, and today we are talking about Peptides 101. So,
Hey, Jasper.
So Peptides 101 is this. You know, everybody's heard about them. What are peptides? Peptides are basically really small pieces of proteins, amino acids that do a specific biological function. And today we're kind of going to flip the script a little bit, where typically Amir's prompting me on the medical side. I'm going to prompt him on the pharmacy side, and we're going to get some answers as how these things work, what they can do for you, and kind of the risk benefits of why or if you should use them.
Yeah, absolutely. So from like a scientific perspective, right, a peptide is anything that's 40 amino acids or less. If it's over 40, 41 and above, we call it a protein.
Yeah.
And they're little snippets, right, that basically I like to think of them like text messages or telephone calls.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want... but they're like text messages, so they're just quick signal. They're telling our body what to do, what pathways to turn on. It can promote things like quicker recovery, right? Hormone optimization, healing, a whole number of things, hair growth, better looking skin. And it's this really interesting space right now where it's not traditional medicine, right? I think of like traditional pharmaceuticals. They cure or at least hold disease at bay.
Right.
And so it's kind of flipping the script for people that want to be proactive.
Yeah, this is improvement. This is
improvement, right? Exactly. So it's prompting your body to do the things that it already naturally does, just at a much faster rate.
right.
So, if you think about the world that we live in today, like we don't have time to be sick. We don't have time to have an injury, right? We got a million things to do. We got businesses to run. We got families to get to their ball games and their plays and everything else. So peptides is a very exciting time, I think, in the practice of medicine, but we got to be safe and smart about it.
Right. So, when we started our practice, started working together, this was very wide open. And pretty much everything was kind of FDA approved. All of these things, Big Pharma had made them.
Yep.
And then kind of released them out into the wild. Couldn't get a monetary way to use them, and then all these compounding pharmacies did. Guys like you were like, well, wait a second, we can do this, and then all of a sudden, about March of last year, the FDA is like, no, full stop. We're gonna reevaluate what this is because Big Pharma wanted their toys back, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really easy to criticize the FDA on this one. I think they've probably gone too far. I understand what their intent is. I don't truly believe that everybody at the FDA is in Big Pharma's pocket.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I'm an optimist.
No, I don't necessarily believe that either. I think there's just there's research and there's requirements, all this stuff, and the jury is still out on a lot of these things.
Yeah.
They know they do this, but what happens in 5 years if you take it?
Yeah. But I think when all the research is done and when they look at it, I think several of these peptides, they will be approved for human use. They will be blockbuster. We've already seen blockbuster peptides like GLP-1s. Some of them we'll talk about today, like VPC 157. I guarantee you this is going to be a multi-billion, probably trillion-dollar industry by 2030. And you're right, Big Pharma will get their toy back. On that one, it seems pretty likely that's going to happen. So
when we jump into it, kind of hit all the stuff, hormone optimization, signaling, the different things. It is that bridge between traditional medicine, regenerative or optimization medicine. And you tapped on the first one. We've done an episode on it already, but GLP-1s are peptides.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's exactly what it is. So dive in on that one a little bit.
Yeah. So we talk about GLP-1s. There are two that are very popular, right? And a third one coming on the scene, in retatrutide. But probably everybody really knows about semaglutide and tirzepatide, right? So semaglutide, brand name is Wegovy. Tirzepatide is Zepbound or Mounjaro. It's probably names that you guys have heard of them. And these drugs have been, or peptides rather, have been devastatingly effective for people that utilize them, not only for diabetes, but for losing weight. The success rate is through the roof. What's the limitation been? Cost, right? And frankly, an access too. So for a long time, you could compound injectable semaglutide and tirzepatide. The FDA has really limited that for compounding pharmacies now. There are still a few exceptions out there, if providers, identify certain allergies or certain dosages or stacks that they think is critical for their patient, it can still be compounded at a sterile compounding pharmacy. So there are some options out there. But one of the biggest risks I think we see with GLP-1s is not only fat loss, but
Muscle wasting.
So maybe talk us through a little bit of that. What is it you're recommending with your patients that are on GLP-1s, and then maybe other things that you stack it with?
So for me, GLP-1s have been, it's really great to see, like, with patients. So obviously my first thing with anybody is like, let's talk about diet, exercise, doing this. Well, some people are past that point and they need that. So I tried to do GLP-1s for fat loss in a 12 to 24 week cycle. Like, hey, this is your target weight, and then we're going to be in good shape and we're going to do the right things, diet, exercise, all things. Now for my diabetic patients, GLP-1s have been a game changer, because you look at some of the other diabetes meds and the side effects they cause, even with metformin, the GI issues metformin causes. Now GLP-1s have those same side effects to a degree, but the blood sugar control and the weight loss additives.
Yeah.
If you're going to be nauseous, why not be nauseous and lose weight and get in good shape?
Yeah, 100%. So, and the longevity that patient's going to have, the years you're adding to their life is really incredible.
Right.
Because without the medication, let's be honest, metformin's good. It does reduce blood sugar levels over time, but people tend to be really overweight still. They progress to cardiovascular disease, cancer.
And you're getting ahead of all these things. So do that. Now, when we get to the muscle wasting, a lot of our male patients, typically the person that comes out of this between 35 and 65. It's very, and probably even more towards 45, 50, really.
Yep.
And so they're at that stage of life where they're kind of muscle wasted anyway.
Yep.
So their hormones are not optimized. So we've done both. So we've done hormone replacement and GLP-1s concurrently to fight that off.
You've had a couple of, and I've seen the patients, I get to work with a lot of them, but just some amazing results combining hormone replacement and GLP-1s. Maybe just tell us, obviously not saying patient names, but some of the transformations that you've seen, the time frames, what does that look like?
Man, for a lot of these guys, you're talking about a year, 6 months to a year, really, where they're like, holy crap, this has done amazing things. But what we're looking at, like, and with a lot of them, like 65 to 100 pounds of body weight off of people. And I know that's outside of the norm of what GLP-1s typically get. But these guys were super motivated. They're like we told them what to do and they did it.
And they had a high level of obesity. Most people aren't going to lose 100 pounds, but these guys had 100 pounds to lose.
Right. And it was like, okay, this is the workout you're going to do, this is the diet you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to take it. They did everything that they were told, and it worked well for them. Now, some of the others, I'm getting some patients coming in now wanting to do peptides in lieu of hormone replacement for muscle wasting. So let's dive into some of those peptides. They would do that. So, I think the next one we're talking about is BPC 157. I think that, this is more of a recovery peptide, but when you've got somebody that's in that place where they're working out, and so here, why do people stop working out? Because it fucking hurts. Right? So they're injury prone. And they get to a point, everybody does it, myself included, everybody. They could go in there and like, I did this when I was 21. I'm 47. Crap, I shouldn't have done that.
It does work so well.
And so let's talk about BPC 157.
I'll share a couple of personal stories around BPC 157. So, in just very recent memory, within the last, I'd say 7-8 days, out of nowhere, because I'm old, I started having a ton of inflammation in my Achilles tendon. Straight, walking around pendulum style, non-intentionally. Everyone's asking, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And out of nowhere, the only thing I can think of, I stepped awkwardly on like this huge tree root, which I was young, it would be no big deal. And I got a ton of stuff going on. I got baseball practice 3 times a week with my kiddos. We got games. I got, work, podcast, everything. I can't be limping around like this. So started taking 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms of BPC 157 orally. This is Monday, right? By Thursday, I'm back in practice, walking completely normal again.
Yeah.
Right. And for the Achilles tendon, for those who don't know, or Kris could tell you better, like it does not heal that quickly. Just in a natural setting, it just does not heal that quickly.
No.
So personally for me, that was a really huge eye opener to what EP157 can do. And so, when you're thinking about this peptide, it is anything to do with tendons, ligaments, connective tissue, those type of injuries that potentially take a very long time to heal.
Well, for me, like one of the things I've been researching, looking into for it is interesting is patients that have autoimmune mixed connective tissue disease.
Okay. Yeah.
Like there's again, I don't have many of them, but you think about it, like they're always looking for something because they're miserable.
Yeah.
Everything hurts, and why does it hurt? Because all of their connective tissue, all of their body is pissed off.
Yep. 100%.
So it's like if you can reduce that inflammatory process, what can you give back to those patients? I think that's a super interesting concept.
And I think this is half of the issue with the FDA is that this molecule, this peptide, is being so widely used. It's making patients feel amazing and great and get back to life. And they really want to narrow in, like clinically, what things can BPC 157 be used for? Because we have this tendency to say, well, everybody should be on BPC 157, and maybe they should. We don't know yet, right? And so I try to give the FDA some credit there.
Absolutely, and it is, and it's widely used. It's available. It's again those things that are research purposes only, but you can go online anywhere on the internet and be like, I would like to buy this. And now then you have the other issues of quality, you're getting what you paid for, all the other things that come with that. But that, like you said, the buyer beware, right? I think
100%. So, from all the clinicians that I've worked with and talked to, a lot of people find that the injectable BP157 is the king, right? But it's very expensive. It's cost prohibitive for 90% of the patients that we work with. We live in a pretty affluent area, and it's still out of reach for them. So there are, 2 other options. Hopefully by the time this airs, the FDA has come back out and said, hey, it's approved again for human use. But for a long time when it was approved, we were doing it as a nasal spray for people. So very effective way it's absorbed in mucosal tissue. And then you can also take it orally. So the origins of BPC 157, it was actually isolated out of gastric juice in the stomach. So it can survive in the stomach. And I think there's going to be a ton of research coming out around people who have leaky gut syndrome, IBS, Crohn's, things of that nature.
I do too, because all of that is connective tissue. That is a connective tissue disease, your gut lining, all those things, right? So that entire concept is very profound to me, because I see so many patients, I was like, man, like, it's just doing this, but why is it doing it? Can it fix X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Now, talking about the muscle waste and continue down that, so that's like an injury prevention, injury healing kind of thing, right? And then we also have growth hormone releasing peptides, right? That we look at. So when you talk about muscle wasting, you can have testosterone all day, but growth hormone is king, right? That's why kids go through growth spurts. That's why Peyton Manning has an extra forehead. That is why all of those things, right? So like,
right on, 100%. So I think quite often, going back to the original conversation, GLP-1s, the muscle wasting, what's a really good stack, another peptide that can be taken with it. Traditionally, both in my practice and yours, we've done a lot of nasal sprays, Morlin, right? It can be taken sublingual as well. I almost like it better via a nasal spray mechanism. Take it in the evening, right before bed. The thing that I love about it, it doesn't suppress your natural growth hormone, right? So if you were to take an exogenous testosterone, injectable testosterone, right, and you take it for a year, right, you are going to suppress your body's natural production. Now listen, you weren't making it that great to begin with, but the way peptides work, again, if you remember, it's signaling the body to do something.
It's supposed to do.
Yeah, what it's supposed to do, right, when you were younger, or as these concentrations of peptides, they drop off with time as you get older, right? Natural process. I'm sure it has to do with the way God designed things, right? You're an old dude now. We don't really need you as much. It's young bucks here to take care of it. But us old guys, right, we want to stick around for a while and be useful, especially with this new generation of kids, and we'll leave it there. But nonetheless, so Samorelin, it can be taken as an injectable, it can be taken as a nasal spray, maybe to a lesser degree under the tongue. I think there's been playing with that a little bit. And then there's some iterations of it, different flavors of the ice cream. So there's ipamorelin and tesamorelin. Chris and I were talking a little bit earlier about using tesamorelin for people that have a lot of visceral fat, so fat around the organs, right? And so maybe tell us why that particular type of fat is so dangerous for people.
Well, visceral fat is just that stubborn dad bod fat, right? Like you're working out, you still got your gut, and you're like, man, it's not going away. So that fat is hard to burn, causes pressure on your organs. It's causing things to just
tons of inflammation
and stress. So like your gut's inflamed, your heart and lung, all the things that are just around there that are basically insulation. Think of it like great stuff foam.
Like
it's just like that's stuck in your gut. You're just like you're like, oh, it's just not going away. It's just really, it's there. You can do all the things. Like a lot of time, and it has a lot of cortisol response and stress response on it to make it stick around. So it's that stubborn piece. You guys like, I want my 6-pack abs. It's like, well, that's the stuff that's going to keep you from having that because it doesn't want to go away.
Yeah, so you think about like somebody's like super stressed and probably eating too many carbohydrates is going to be your perfect candidate for visceral fat or fat around the organs, which is a recipe for early death.
But yeah, absolutely. That's that early cardiovascular death. That's heart stress. That's your gut's not acting right, malabsorption. That's all of those things.
Absolutely. Just circling back on that BPC 157 before we get into too much of the muscle building type things. I read some really interesting articles, and I'll make a prediction here that BPC 157 will actually save the world. All right.
Okay,
so
let's hear this.
Have you seen that bee movie? The one, bees only live like a short time, 3 or 4 days, and one bee is like, why the hell would I want to work my whole life?
Cartoon.
The cartoon.
Like Seinfeld?
It was Seinfeld, wasn't it? He's like, why in the hell do I want to work? I only got 3 days to live. Why do I have to go do this thing? And so anyways, if you fast forward through the movie, all the bees stop working and everything on Earth basically slows down. The food production is gone, right? Nothing can be pollinated, right? I think is the right word. And I think 80% of the food supply in the world has to be pollinated in order to germinate and make fruit and all that good stuff. So nonetheless, bees are incredibly important right now. And there is a huge issue right now with, what do they call it? Colony collapse, where entire colonies of bees are just completely dying. Right? And it's primarily believed to be due to this fungus, right, that's in their stomach. So right now, researchers are actually using BP 157 and they're putting it in the bee food. And what they're finding, early studies in the field, is that the survival rates of these colonies are tremendously higher. So whether it's fortifying the guts of these bees or somehow inhibiting the infective properties of this fungus, it is literally maybe going to cure this bee thing, right? And they say, right, not that all life will end if the bees go away, but a majority of the world's plant-based food supply will be gone. Right. Unless they come up with some other creative way to pollinate it. Right. Drones. Yeah. Can you imagine how
drone bees
pollinate it? Anyway, so you heard it here. BP 157 is going to save the world
from drone bees.
Yeah. That would be nasty, wouldn't it? Important to note if you're an athlete or competing in athletic sports, BPC 157 is banned by the World Anti-Doping Association. So proceed with caution. So one might ask right now, how would you even obtain BP 157? It is available for, what do they say, research
only,
research purposes only, right? And so, in like full transparency, there are several good companies out there who are making BP 157. They tell you straight up on this website, not for human consumption, research purposes only. They're 100% selling it to you for human consumption. Not that we're recommending that, we're saying that, but it is available. The problem is there is a ton of imposters out there making stuff. I know somebody who's making it at a Marathon gas station here in Florida, right? They get a great website developer. They get a simple tool off of Temu that we get the little stuff from. Yeah. Off of Temu, and they are selling it, and it is completely unregulated. And this is where I think the FDA did a huge disservice to the entire industry. They said, hey, compounding pharmacies, you can no longer make this. You can't touch it. It's off limits. However, the the research and development industry of complex is not under FDA rule.
Right.
They can really do whatever they want. So if you're considering BPC 157, talk with your clinician or prescriber. They can really guide you. If you were going to do some research, they could guide you to a reputable and high quality source of it, I would say. So,
right. So we talked, fat loss, muscle wasting, growth hormone, injury prevention. So now let's dive into a little bit more some of the other things people in the stream. There's the aesthetics part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want to grow old gracefully. We
Yeah.
want to fight that shit tooth and nail.
For sure.
That's the entire concept of what peptides are doing.
Yep.
So let's talk about hair loss. Actually, for me this week, I've had quite a few female patients coming in with significant hair loss. And some of it's, I think this version of whatever respiratory things going around. And, like that seems to be a symptom post-COVID that there's some increased hair loss.
Yeah.
After a severe respiratory infection. I think that, it's thyroid, seasonal stuff, all that. But, there's a vanity piece to that too. So let's talk about this, copper peptide.
Yeah, GHKCU. So when I first learned about this, or it came on the scene, I was talking with another clinician, a female, in her early 40s, I would say. Really good shape, hormones are optimized, working out, like everything is dialed in, but she's losing her hair, right? And she's considering going to get a wig and get fitted for a wig. And she goes to this conference and she learns about GHKCU. And so she's been taking a regimen topically, and it's I actually brought some here. You can't see it. It's a beautiful blue color. If I can get some out here. You can see that on the camera there. Beautiful blue color. And just goes right on the hair topically. And she'll take that in combination with an oral minoxidil finasteride capsule daily, and completely transformed her hair growth. Like, I would see her and I would never think that she had problem growing hair. So tremendously potent, more potent than I'd call it like a super minoxidil.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I think of it. So that's like a very traditional pharmaceutical grade hair loss product. And the way that it works is it actually conditions the environment where the root of the hair is, increases blood flow, and stimulates the body to really partition nutrients to the hair. In transparency, I think it was like, I was talking to her about this. I was kind of dealing with my own little hair issues, right? And so it was sending like through the front. Like, my dad's bald, my brothers are balding, and I got a little spot here, but I was coming through the front, like horseshoe style, male pattern baldness. I told my wife, I think I'm going to have to shave my head. Yeah. She goes, you better not shave your head. She goes, take some of that stuff you give to everybody, and so Kris and I talked about it. And I got a decent amount of hair now, right? So it came back pretty good. But you could see the horseshoe coming through prior to taking that. So that's been a real game changer. I think, where it goes outside of topical hair regrowth is going to be in like skin cosmeceuticals, right? And practitioners haven't really caught on to it yet, but I think putting it into a face cream, probably in combination with like a low dose estrogen, and that copper peptide together is really going to drive collagen production, that good connective tissue, get rid of wrinkles.
Well, right. And looking at it, we talked about earlier on, you and I were talking about the combination of maybe like a PRP, BPC 157, PRP facials.
Yep. 100%.
Where you're doing, fillers, but there's some interesting, all the things are interesting. It's like, where is it going to go? Because you're doing that thing. You're like signaling the body to do what it's supposed to do. So it is anti-aging, human performance, whatever, optimization, all the things that we're talking about. And we're doing it in this very different way. Like very, almost 180 from the typical pharmaceutical. Like we're going to take what your body does naturally and we're just going to amplify it.
And we're just going to tell it to do it more.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is, if you're getting a really high quality peptide, is that the side effect profiles have been extremely low. We do a lot of peptides for our private coaching patients, recommendations, and we just don't have a lot of negative side effect issues. Like, yes, we talk about GLP-1s and nausea and vomiting and diarrhea, but the truth is, if you're working with a clinician and they dose it appropriately and they bring you up appropriately, almost all of that can be mitigated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess the call out is that what I'm afraid peptides will become is DIY healthcare. Right? I see a little bit of that. Like, it kind of reminds me of weightlifting in the 80s and 90s, like the bro science.
Like essential oils that actually work.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is you get it for research purposes, and so people are getting them. They have no idea what dose to take. They have no idea that they should be using like a bacteriostatic water, right? They turn on the faucet, here in Indian River County, and they're pulling water out.
That's their well.
Like true story. I've heard this, and they're putting in their peptide, and so. The one thing I know that we both recommend, if you are going to dabble in the peptide space, please do it with a trained and licensed physician, somebody who's got experience with this, the proper way to dose it and mitigate it, and timing. Just you got to work with a clinician on it.
It is, because it's chemistry. It's biochemistry.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And when you're adding a catalyst that's going to cause a reaction to do a certain end state, and when we get to that point, that's stuff you don't want to guess on, right? It's like when you make the baking soda volcano, right? You're like, oh, well, they added too much baking soda or too much vinegar, and now it's all over the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess in that workout, fitness, getting lean space, the other one is Sloop, right?
Yep.
So that one's become very popular. Here is Sloop 332. I don't think I have any notes on it, but I bring it up just because we get so many inquiries and requests about it, and it seems to be what they call like an exercise mimetic, right? So it's basically inducing some of the positive benefits of exercise
by injecting it.
Right? So this is a completely novel concept. Like I can't necessarily put my finger on another drug. We talk about berberine a little bit, right? It activates AMPK pathway, increases your metabolic rate. So that's probably the closest thing that we've had to being able to orally take exercise.
Right, but I mean, you think about that. Like, what are we telling you? If you got to the point where you had talk about something that would change the game. How many people do you tell every day, you need to walk, you need to do some cardio, you need to do this, and there's like, here's your marathon in a pill.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which 100% we are not recommending not exercising.
Yeah. No.
What we see benefit is that people are getting extra gains, right? Extra leanness. Like it's supercharging the workout and results.
Absolutely. But okay, so just think about it. I have a few patients who are wheelchair bound.
Yep.
Multiple amputee patients. Yep. We have other patients, that are, their exercise is not a thing for them. Or not a steady state or continual regime. If you're, they're doing stuff, but it's not doing things. So if there is a way to do that, you can be like, okay, well, this will mimic this and give you this ability to improve what you still have. Mm-hmm. I think that's a super cool concept. Yeah. Very early stages. I mean, I don't even think Sloop has been banned yet.
No, not yet. It will be.
It will be.
100%
it will be.
Yeah, I checked, because a lot of the people that most of us work with are athletes, competitive athletes. So I was just, as of today's date, it's not currently banned, but they are looking at it. I guarantee they will ban it. In fact, they even went as far as to recommend that it's your own personal responsibility to make sure you're not taking performance-enhancing drugs. I think this one will be considered one and will definitely be banned. Again, with peptides, they're new. They're early on the scene, and why the FDA is cautious, right? We don't have human clinical trials. So the best thing with Sloop that we can point to is anecdotal evidence that we've seen in people that are taking it. And then there's been some animal studies, right? And so
with the bees, so now they're healed and they're super bees.
Super bees. I think these were rats actually, but they published it in the Journal of Pharmacy and Experimental Therapeutics. Mm-hmm. And basically what they did is they took this population of mice or rats that were either already obese or they made them obese by just giving them a lot of Snickers, right? Chick-fil-A. And then, the control group got nothing. The experimental group got the Sloop 332, as they call it. And what they found is without reducing food for either group, right, there was a definitive fat decrease in the Sloop 332 group. Yep. So does that translate to humans? We don't have this study to show that. But anecdotally, we're seeing people better workouts, better gains, getting lean on Sloop. So I'm hot on it. I haven't personally tried it. But I think it's something
I'm
that
100% gonna try it.
yeah, it's something.
If it makes me like not have to run, I'm down.
Yeah, I don't know. We're not recommending not exercising.
But running, I'll walk. Running's terrible.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you on that. I don't run anymore.
Yeah.
I did that run workout with you, I think, a year ago, the Indian.
Yeah.
And I make the kids do that now at baseball practice. I mean, the Indian run, I call it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. And trying to get like 12-year-olds to go at a pace, right? And I think that's half of the thing is just team building.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, yes, we know you're a superstar and you can run 1,000,000 miles an hour, but you're leaving the rest of the team behind. So, yeah, if you want to have some fun,
It is that. Oh, yeah, it'll get you. I'm very much in that Toby Keith thing. I'm as good as I once was. And I'm like laying on the ground, like, I wish I was dead. This is terrible. Like I just hurt so bad.
And Kris and I we were doing a training for Guerrilla Medical, and so early morning we came out and did this PT Army style PT workout or whatever, and I did literally feel like I was dying. We didn't go that far.
About a half mile.
Like a half
We're in a mile total. It was
Totally unprepared in the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
They felt like drone bees.
Yeah, they were from drum bees.
Yeah.
They're testing.
Oh man.
All right, so we've kind of gone down the road here. We talked about muscle wasting. We talked about the aesthetics, the fat loss and all that. So where does that kind of leads us to the thing that most guys are interested in? Let's talk about libido, right?
Yeah.
So the next one we got is PT-141, right?
Yeah, super popular peptide, FDA approved, originally FDA approved for women, for low libido, and when GLP-1s obviously the most commonly prescribed peptide, but we're seeing a tremendous uptick in PT-141 requests from both men and women. And PT-141 can be used in either. It's super non-invasive. You can take it as a nasal spray, which makes it really convenient for throwing your backpack, heading out for a trip. But for a lot of men, they've tried Viagra and Cialis and traditional doses, and it just doesn't work for them. It's more than a plumbing issue, well, right? It's not about just getting, it's not about dilating the blood vessels to get a physical erection. There's something mentally.
Absolutely. Well, so your primary and secondary erectile dysfunction, right? Arousal is multifaceted.
Yep.
Right. It's yes, the plumbing works. Every 15-year-old boy knows that, right?
Yep.
But you have to have the brain body connection.
Yeah.
Inside of that, and then if you're driving libido,
Yeah.
you're setting that off. You're lighting the match essentially.
Yeah, 100%. So if you think about, again, reminding peptides are like text messages,
Yep.
right? So they're signaling the body to do something. So this PT-141 peptide is working within the central nervous system, right, to stimulate arousal, right, in both men and women. So they find in men, basically a third of men who fail traditional Viagra or Cialis treatment, when given PT-141, either separately or in combination, will achieve, an erection. So huge uses there, but just seeing it a lot more in women, right? So women struggle with this, especially as they start to hit perimenopause, 40s, 50s, 60s. They'll come into the pharmacy or they'll see a podcast episode or a video that we do online. They'll want to get more information. I know our T1Rx clients,
Yes.
a lot of them are taking this nasal peptide. And it's really the only one of its kind. I can't think of another medication that induces arousal.
Not anything legal.
Not anything legal, yeah, for sure. So PT-141, again, it works differently than Cialis and Viagra. Again, the primary indication is for people with low libido, but probably half of the clients that we work with are looking to elevate the experience even further, right? So, hey, we definitely want to get together and do it, but we want to have an extra good time. And what I'll see, Kris and other practitioners, Dr. Augusto or whatever, they'll combine it with oxytocin as well. It can be put into the same nasal spray. And oxytocin, gives you that feeling of being in love, right? If you remember, in high school when you met that girl or that boy that you just couldn't live without. You just wanted
that boy.
That boy. You just couldn't live without. It felt some sort of way, right? Or when you're holding a baby, right? That's an oxytocin that's released. Or every time, when men and women get together, and I think women especially, I don't know the science of men, you probably do, but, when women would have an orgasm, right? There's a huge release of oxytocin. They feel connected to that man.
Well, the stuff that goes with all that. I mean, so oxytocin drives a lot of things. I mean, in women in nursing and childbirth and all these things, there's oxytocin, all of it. But like orgasm is just a physical response. It's a like deep tendon reflex. It's a reflex response, right? The getting there, stimulating, doing the things you need to do, that's a whole, like, you have to get the fire lit to like flip the switch, essentially, right?
100%.
And if you don't do all those components, it's not going to get there.
Yeah.
Right. And so the psychological, the neurotransmitters firing appropriately, the neurochemical, like oxytocin's a neurotransmitter, right? You're going to do these things. It's going to change signaling in the brain.
Yeah.
So now you've got a peptide that's signaling the central nervous system to achieve these things. That's super cool.
100%.
So what are some of the downsides to it?
So PT-141. So, it's super important, one, to work with a clinician, right, who can advise you on proper dosing and timing. Really important. You don't want to use this as nasal spray, or it can be taken as a sublingual as well, more than, and I'm going to say 2 times a week. The traditional guidance is 2 to 3 times a week. And it stimulates melanocytes, right? So it makes you tan, but not the good kind of tan, right? Like, we all want to be a little bit tanner and darker.
It's an orange tan.
It's kind of like this orange tint. So if you ever seen anybody with an orange tint, or maybe a tan that doesn't look just quite right, you can probably bet that they've been taking potentially excess doses of PT-141. So again, a game changer when it comes to increasing libido. If it's something that you struggle with, or if you just want to enhance the experience, work with a clinician. It can be a game changer. But please, this is one of those peptides that you cannot abuse. You will look super odd. It's not a good look on white girls. I've seen it, right? It's just an awkward looking tan, and it takes a long time to go away. So please use responsibly.
Right. All right. So that's so we've gone down the rabbit hole, pretty much everything here. We've gone from weight loss to muscles to aesthetics to sex. And now let's talk about the end of all that, sleep.
Exactly. Nothing better to do afterwards than roll over and go to bed.
Yeah. So we've got, what do we have? Pinealin?
Pinealin, yeah. Super excited. So it's kind of a newer peptide to the scene. I've actually had the opportunity to experiment with it a little bit this week. The reality is I get really good sleep, so we, I think Kris and I both have been taking mag change for quite a while. That magnesium just really calms the system down, helps us to get a good night's rest. If I do need additional support, we've got that sleep support, which has L-theanine, 5-HTP, chamomile, melatonin, GABA. But there will be some nights where it's just not enough. And there's some external stimulus. It's something usually going on the next day that's, really big or really important. And I'll be just like thinking about it through the night, right? So pinealin is super interesting. It, works on the pineal gland, which one might gather. And it can actually reset your circadian rhythm, right? Help you to get deeper REM sleep, right? Which, I believe is really important for memory, cognition, kind of consolidating everything for the day.
Absolutely. Right? It says old school computers, you had to defrag the hard drive.
Yeah.
Right. That's what REM sleep is. You're going to these cycles where you're getting the information out, your brain is resetting, it's consolidating. It's like, so think about like when you're in grad school and you're studying, you're studying for a test, right? And you're like, oh, I'm not getting it. And then you go to sleep, you wake up and you remember the stuff you're studying better because your brain consolidated it and it put it where it's supposed to go.
And so the initial research that we're seeing and anecdotally from patients as well as other clinicians is that tremendously improved REM sleep on pinealin. In addition to that, it's also being studied for depressive disorders. So it seems to reset the body to really increase the amount. Again, peptides are signalers to increase the production of serotonin, right? So if you think about depression, we typically treat it in a medicine 1.0 standpoint of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Just take whatever serotonin we have and just try to make it last a little bit longer in the gap, right? Been very effective for a small group of people, by and large. Just created a ton of side effects, made people act like super wacky, they can't sleep, sexual dysfunction. So it's a really exciting time. This is peptide pinealin, potentially in the in that space of depression and better sleep. And then you were talking about another use, right?
Well, when we look at the
potentially,
right? Well, when you look at the pineal gland and in psychedelics for behavioral health and different things you're doing, the pineal gland is very active in all these things. So it's like if you when you're resetting the circadian rhythm, I mean that is your everybody, right? It's the heartbeat of like the world. Like it wasn't really, well, we didn't have circadian rhythm dysfunction until we invented the light bulb.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And then we invented the light bulb and we're like, oh shit, we're not going to sleep when the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've changed the way humans adapt, and there's definitely paying the piper for that at this point. So we're like, what is it causing? And to be able to take that and put it back to a baseline is incredibly interesting concept in medicine.
Yeah, case in point, I mean, this week the World Series is on, right? I've been watching the World Series. We're big baseball fans.
7-hour game.
Oh, I was up till 3 in the morning. Like, I wanted to go to bed. Like, I couldn't turn away. And so my sleep has been complete garbage intentionally because of the invention of electricity and the light bulb and whatnot. So, working with Kris, he's got me taking 1,000 micrograms 3 times a week. So we're going to try that for a couple of weeks and maybe go to a 5 on, 2 off scenario. Pineal, I'm super excited. More information to come on future episodes. Just like what our patient's response has been to it, what, our personal response has been to it. Exciting time for peptides.
All cool things. And like I said, I'm going to give them a shot, and I'll give you all the feedback and all the different things that we're doing. It's everything that you're doing. Go talk to a provider. If you want to get in touch with us, t1rx.com, you can get a hold of us, or talk to your primary care, talk to somebody in your area. Just don't dive into this on your own.
Yeah, 100%. It's not DIY healthcare.
No.
That's the biggest thing that we want to promote, and there's a lot of that going on right now. You've got to work with a really good clinician. There's a bunch of them out there. If your particular primary care doctor is not up to date on peptides, please reach out. T1rx.com. There's actually a peptide consult link that's on there. We'd love to talk to you more about just the benefits and what it may do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been the Dose Adjustment, Peptides 101. I'm Kris Hasnow.
Amir Rahimi. Have a good day.
Thanks.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it does not establish a physician-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition. Always consult with a licensed healthcare provider in your area before making any changes to your personal healthcare regimen or acting on any medical information shared in this podcast.